Hi, guys. Um, I hope you've been having a good week, and I'd like to remind you that I'll see you again next week, um, the first week of December. I think that's December 2nd. So when I get back, you'll have a quiz, and that quiz will be over the basic biochemistry from the last lecture and over these energy and enzyme concepts that we're going to talk about today. So, um, do you guys know who this guy is in the picture here? This is Sisyphus. And Sisyphus is a figure from Greek mythology. Um, he made Zeus very angry because um, Zeus appeared to Sisyphus's wife in the form of Sisyphus. So Sisyphus's wife thought it was her husband, and he had his way with her. And Sisyphus found out, and he was very angry. And he told Zeus's wife, Hera, who um, is one of the only people who can give Zeus a hard time. And so, in retribution, Zeus forced Sisyphus to push this boulder up a mountain forever. He'll never get to the top, it'll never go down. And I like this picture, this story for the energy chapters because it defies the laws of thermodynamics. Oops, sorry. All right. All right. So we could talk for many long hours on the the philosophical questions of the laws of thermodynamics. Um, but I'm going to let you guys ponder that on your own. We'll talk about entropy, and I'm going to have you do an assignment on entropy. Um, it's really actually quite amazing, and I would like you to spend some time thinking about it. But I'm not going to put too much time into it. I do want you to think about the two laws of thermodynamics. And the first law states that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it only changes form. And the law of entropy can continue that statement by saying every time there is a transformation of energy, some of that energy is lost to the usable pool of energy. So sometimes we say it's lost as heat, but that's not necessary. It doesn't have to be heat. It's lost in a usable form. Um, this means that the entropy of the universe is ever increasing. Um, and in some ways, it seems that life would contradict some of um, these these laws of thermodynamics, but in fact, that's not true. Um, Life maintains order. Life creates order. Life is capable of using energy from the environment in order to create very complex, very highly ordered systems. And um, and so it's able to create this order, yet it does so at the expense of the universe or of the environment. So the laws of thermodynamics aren't being defied because um, energy isn't being created, it's simply being used in a new form. And the ordered system that life is creating is doing so at the expense of the universe. And we'll look at some images of that in a little bit. Um, so I would like you to think about the first law of thermodynamics and think about it in um, terms of the food web. So think about all the ways that energy cycles through our biosphere. Ultimately, all energy comes from the sun, and then a plant or an algae is going to transform that sun energy into organic carbon, and then something eats the plant, and then something eats that primary uh, heterotroph, And so, in this way, the energy is being cycled through our biosphere. And so, we're talking about cell biology, which is life. And so, I'd like you to think of the first law of thermodynamics in terms of biological systems. And here's a nice way um, to kind of map that out. I'll let you look at that on your own. All right, the second law of thermodynamics is the law of entropy. And I will admit to you that I don't fully understand all the implications of the law of entropy. I find it a very fascinating concept. And I want to um, impart to you the fact that entropy is not the same thing as disorder. A lot of people want to equate entropy with a measure of disorder, and that is really not true. And so, my assignment for you as a follow up assignment is I want you to do a little bit of research about entropy and what exactly is entropy and how do different scientists regard entropy. Um, and I also want you to specifically research why is entropy not the same thing as disorder. Okay. Um, you don't need to make a long essay about it. A one-page typed paper about your um, about the what do I want to say? Um, some of the thoughts that hit you the strongest. Um, is fine. Okay, it doesn't need to be a 4-page paper. Um, Entropy is really the tendency of all systems to move to a state of least energy. And in a lot of ways, this has to do with probability. What are the possible states that any molecule or object can be in? And so if you look at those glasses of water at the top, um, this is illustrating how entropy is related to heat because one of those glasses is hotter than the other. So actually, you can't see the PowerPoint presentation. This is actually an animated image. Um, or maybe you can see it because you have the screen capture. Yeah. So, um, so one of these glasses, the dye is diffusing much quicker into the water than into the other one. So I want you to think about which of those glasses is hotter. But I also want you to think about, say, we're just thinking about a single molecule of dye. So if that molecule of dye is put into a small glass like this, is it going to have more entropy or less entropy than if you put it into an entire swimming pool? And you can see that there are many more states for that molecule to be in a swimming pool than in a small glass. Okay, so entropy has to do in some ways with um, the probable states that something can take. Some ways to describe entropy, though not to define it, is to say that reactions proceed in a downhill or spontaneous direction. Okay, so you go from molecules with high energy to molecules with low energy. You can talk about complex molecules tend to break down to simple ones, right? So a molecule of starch will tend to break down into its molecules of glucose, and glucose will tend to break down into molecules of CO2. Okay, so high energy states are unstable states, low energy states are stable. So high energy states have more entropy, low energy states um, have less entropy. And so things move towards a more stable state. It is true that ordered states tend to move towards disorder. But I want you to think of this as a description of entropy rather than its definition, right? So um, if you throw a pile of cards onto the table, they're going to be scattered randomly. They're probably not gonna arrange themselves in a deck in in order of number and suit, right? They're going to be more disordered. Your desk will become more and more messy unless you actually put energy into cleaning it up. Okay, these are all descriptions of entropy, but they don't really define it. So I want you to go and do some research on the internet. There's a lot of different essays about entropy. And specifically, I want you to research, why is entropy not really the same thing as disorder? All right, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this, but this is a good example of how, this little boy is a highly ordered system, okay? But his order is going to be offset by the disorder from the universe, right? In order for his body to produce a man, he has to eat food. And so this poor cow is going to go from a very ordered state, like, you know, a living cow, into a very disordered state, um, like this pile of hamburger meat. All right. Shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk about different kinds of energy. So, the first law of thermodynamics talks about energy can't be created or destroyed, it can only change forms. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about the different forms of energy. And some of those forms are heat, light, electricity, chemical, and mechanical energy. And all of these forms are interconvertible with each other. Um, We can also describe different types of energy in terms of whether it is a dynamic energy or a static energy. Um, oh, I'm going to pause the recording now because my baby is crying. So I'll come back to energy in just a little bit.